you process that kind of praise so early on in your career?
It's always so much room to grow, and it's kind of like insane that people would think so highly of me.
Before hitting the world stage at 19 with Lizzo, Jordan Monae poured everything into preparing for an audition that would change everything.
I recorded for 7 hours straight. The tour manager was like from Europe, and she was like, "You've got the job." And I was like, yes.
And then the call she'll never forget, an invitation to sing backing vocals with Mariah Carey.
And she was like, "Hey, if you're not doing anything, like, would you be interested in being in the choir?" And I was like, for Mariah Carey? Heck yeah, what in the world?
Known for her impressive guitar skills, Jordan got her big break through her early mentor, Ari O'Neill, who had this to say in Series 1 about her rising talent.
First lesson with her, I was like, why am I here? Like, did you just want to jam? Like, she's so good. And the fact that she could play guitar, she could play bass, she could sing, she could play drums. She's like a baby her.
In this episode of Guitars of R&B, Jordan shares the highs and lows of touring, her guitar rig, and how she approaches playing as both a producer and live performer.
We really need to go into what you've been up to. What was that like? What's going through your mind when you first stepped out around that level of talent? You know, the first day when you arrived around that level of talent, what was going through your mind?
I felt like I had prepared in a way, like mentally for that. So when I walked into the room, I was like, boom, like game time. I'm prepared. I know my music. I'm going to be professional. I'm going to be nice to everyone and just like, you know, myself. And then I found out that it was pretty chill. Like everyone was just down to earth and just trying to learn the music and, you know, have good rehearsal. I thought it was going to be like, do you know the music? Like intimidating. But it was really nice. Everyone was super nice.
And you've been called the next trailblazer by some amazing musicians. It's Peyton, actually, who called you the next trailblazer.
Oh,
you know, do you process that kind of praise so early on in your career?
I honestly, like, I never, ever want to be in the mindset. I know some people get in rooms and speak to people and they're like, I made it. Like, I did it. Like, it's no going up from here. And I'm like, it's always so much room to grow. And it's kind of like insane that people would think so highly of me. And I'm just like, you know, I'm just trying to get better. I'm just trying to learn from everyone.
So what about the family days? You said that you come from this musical family. So how did music first show up in your life?
My mom helped me and my sister when it came to my like ear and hearing and harmonizing and blending. And we grew up and we would sing at like different churches and stuff. And then when I was 11, I picked up a guitar because like my cousin Isaac was playing bass and my uncle taught him how to play. And then like I was in a singing group. And my mentor at the time had told me about Tori Kelly. She was such an inspiration to me. And John Mayer, they're like my top 2 people for like starting out. And so I picked up a guitar after that and I was playing at my church and it was literally like one note. And I was like so grateful looking back that they let me play because I wasn't playing anything.
So what did you do? Were you sort of shedding scales? Were you sort of learning by ear? Or were you just playing in church every week until you got good? Like, was there any kind of formal training to that?
I think all of those things, like I would sit at home and kind of just noodle and see what was happening. But it really started off with like the open chords, and learning the songs that have like the open E, A, you know, C, those type of songs. And then I try to venture from the open chord structure to like actually playing songs in different keys, which was a weird transition to start because it feels like there's so much to learn. But I think after a while you get it down and, you know, do enough research and enough practice and it starts to become like muscle memory. So I would play at church and, you know, they would pick the songs and I would try to learn them to the best of my ability.
Did you have sort of mentors at the time that were helping you to level up, do you think? Or, you know, other guitarists?
Yeah, of course. A online, my mentors, like looking at people in the industry, were Tori Kelly and John Mayer. I always tell everyone, I'm like, I love them so much and I'm grateful. Tori Kelly's guitarist, I think his name is pronounced Mateus.
Yeah.
And they were my big inspirations, like looking online. And then in person, my inspirations and mentors were Ariel O'Neill on Instagram, Beyonce and stuff. And then also Jay Rojas, amazing guitarist in the DMV. And we would sit in these rehearsals from my cousin, PJ Edmond. He's a Christian artist. And we would sit in rehearsals going through different like scales, and he's insane. And I was like, how am I sitting here playing with you right now? Like, I was so grateful to be with them. And my cousin Isaac Johnson was playing bass.
Was there a moment where you kind of felt like you went from I can play to I can really say something with this instrument? Because I think there's obviously a journey. And as you said, there's different points where you kind of crack it and then you don't.
Yeah.
So did you have that moment where you felt like you kind of were playing the chords, but you really then, I can play and I can do this?
Yeah, I think in high school when I started like producing more, I would like make songs and like stack different things. And then I started building up on my pedals. That was really pushing me to explore like what my sound was. And I'm still finding it currently. But when I got with Lizzo in LA when I turned 19, that was like my second, like, oh, it's something beyond this, And because we were practicing and rehearsing every single day, like for hours. And I had new gear. I had some really great stuff. Like I got a PRS. I started using Kemper. I had Fender. And that kind of gave me a new like drive and push to explore my sound even deeper. So that kind of changed a lot. And I was like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah. Did church though influence your playing? Because I think a lot of the guitarists, especially R&B guitarists, come from the church, right? And church bands kind of teaches you to it calls for good thinking, doesn't it? So how did that shape your ear or your ability to adapt in the moment?
Yeah, I feel like church is such a big thing for a lot of musicians. It is very quick and it's a lot of theory to it, but it's also a lot of hearing and connecting with the band. I think that was my first time having to sit with music and try to learn it for an audience. Like that's a little bit more pressure than just learning something and, recording it and posting it.
Yeah.
Because now it's like the live aspect and it's less about getting the take perfect and posting and more about like communication with the band, listening to what numbers they're calling out, being on point when a song comes in, tempo, like how are you talking to the audience and how are you giving room for the artist or the singer? And then also just gospel music in general, like it has such a big influence on who I am as a person. Like I'm big on my relationship with Christ and just that leading me in my decisions and who I am as a person. So, I love gospel music and the theory in it and the feeling of it. I don't even know. It's like so much to talk about with gospel music.
Yeah.
He has risen. Why are you weeping? He's not dead. Don't cry.
There's a lot of emotion behind it as well, isn't that? The connection, the emotional connection. Yeah. How did that influence the way that you approach playing, for example?
Yeah. A lot of people in church, some people are like quartet. They play quartet music. I didn't really get into that until like later, but a lot of like people say like worship chords and stuff. I started learning those type of chords. And then when it came to like soloing without distortion and just feeling it, and like when you're in church and you're feeling like the presence of God, and it's like, what do I do in this moment? Do I like shred over everything, or do I just sit with it and do like a solo with a little bit of like chorus reverb and like feel it out? And then there are other times when it's like big and worship is big in your church, and you got to turn on that distortion and take the people into like worship. And it is really a spiritual and emotional thing, because music it has such power over like our emotions and how we feel.
So hey, in case nobody, oh, yeah.
So then you got the call, changed everything. How did that come about? How did you get a call to play for Lizzo?
So I was at the mall with my sister and my cousin, and Ari, like I met Ari, I'm not good with dates. Maybe when I was like 16, 17, 16. And so she had called me for some other things prior to me like getting Lizzo. And it just never would work out. Like I was too young, or like I would try to travel with somebody and it was like, we're kind of looking for somebody that could like, travel by themselves and can be quick about it. Right. So she called me for this one and she was like, Lizzo. And I was like, oh shoot, Lizzo, like, that's a big gig. Like, okay. So then I did the audition, and
so you auditioned. Okay.
I had an audition. Yeah. Because I had never, this is my first big artist. So I was in my basement and I recorded for about like 7 hours straight. Just like recording a take. I mess up, stop the computer, delete that take, re-record, press go on the camera, or record on the camera, then get in position and then wait for it to come and then play over and over again for 7 hours.
Wow.
And then I found out that I actually wasn't due that day and I didn't have to rush. It was due the week after. So the week after I did the exact same thing for about the same amount of time. And there were 3 songs that I had to do. And then they called me and was like, the tour manager was like from Europe, and she was like, you've got the job. And I was like, yes.
You've mentioned Harry quite a few times, and she's your mentor, isn't she? What kind of things did she help you to see early on? Because you kind of need that guiding hand when you're entering an industry like this, right? It's completely new.
Yeah. So when I was getting like the lessons from her earlier on, we would like go over stuff like the power chords, or like the different scales, like, I don't know, the difference between like minor and major and stuff. Once we made that connection, I ask her about things in the industry, and just like I look up to her as like, a mentor, a mentee would. So every time I call her, I like text her, ask her something, she always gives me advice and just different ways to handle things in the industry, especially as a like female musician. So I really appreciate her, and will always big ups to Ari. Love you.
It's been so complimentary of you. She called you the next baby her, as in Gabby Wilson. I mean, that's such a huge compliment, right?
Yeah, that's, I love her. That's a huge compliment.
What's kind of one piece of advice that she's given you that kind of helped you and set you on your journey, really?
It's been a lot of things, but just like professionalism, always being kind, knowing your worth, coming to rehearsal, knowing your music on time, some of the things that seem like really like common sense, like, oh yeah, everybody does that. But, not everyone does that. And, some people will come knowing half of it, and it's like, oh, but it's different being a woman. Like, that I feel like it's a lot of male musicians, and you want to come knowing all your stuff, because it kind of feels like a competition sometimes, just in the world in general. So, I always appreciate her advice.
How do you sort of navigate that space, being a female in such a male-dominated industry?
Yeah, I'm just now trying to find my sound. So that when people call me, they're calling me for me and not just because they need like a female musician. Like I want to build my artistry and my brand, and like I want you to want me for me. And it can be hard sometimes, but I think when you are truly yourself and you're kind to people and you love people, then God will open the door for you to be where you're supposed to be. Like, even if you feel like, oh, like this gig is working out, like it's really going to happen. Like if it doesn't happen, that's okay. Something else will come. Just keep going. Just keep practicing and people will recognize you, whether you're male or female. Just keep being yourself.
Yeah. And so what did that first Lizzo tour teach you about being a musician, not just a guitarist?
It taught me that I can do more than just guitar. And I knew that, but you know, it's different when you're at sound check and you're like playing different like instruments, or like you have free time and you're in an arena literally on bass or literally playing drums. And it's just like eye-opening, like, wow, like nothing is impossible. And it is really inspiring to be in those rooms after you've like dreamt about it for so long. And then also just like the connection with the people was really special, and the community of musicians and singers. And it is really a team effort, like every night on stage, making sure that we're like connected and, you know, giving the audience the best show that we can. So
I know you vlog about that a lot, don't you? You vlog about behind the scenes and tour life.
yeah, a lot of people say like everybody wants to be on tour, but sometimes it can be lonely. And that is the reality of it. It can be lonely because you're around people 24/7. And then, you know, sometimes you need time by yourself or like, you know, different connections with people and stuff. But it is very important to find your people. And, you know, I'm always going to go back to being kind and being yourself, being on time and being respectful is so important when you're in such a big group. And, you know, it's a team effort. Everyone has to work together. So it's a family aspect. It's not everywhere, but when you do find it, it's really special. Yeah.
And what kind of things did you do to prepare mentally, physically, and emotionally, you know, when you were kind of preparing for touring on a world stage and in arenas around the world?
Musically, just practicing, shedding to different people, shedding to the music.
Yeah.
Super important. So it's like, you know, just ingrained in my brain instead of me trying to like think on stage. But emotionally, definitely praying. I remember the first show. I'm not really a nervous, anxious person, but you know, this is a big thing to not do an arena at all and then practice for a month in LA, which I had never been to before. I'd never been to LA. We practiced for a month and then we get to the first show in Florida and everybody's like, go time. And they've done this before. And I'm like, right, go time, go time. And then we get on stage and I was like, God, please take the nerves away. Cause when I get nervous, my hand shakes sometimes. And I was like, I want to be able to, you know, do this the right way and make everybody proud. So when it's called a kabuki, which is like the curtain in front of a stage before the show starts. So they drop the kabuki and the lights turn on and everyone's screaming and it's loud. And I'm looking around like, this is really happening. And I have the video. I have like all the footage from that tour. And then I was nervous a little bit. And after the kabuki dropped, I was like, it was gone within an instant. And I was just really blessed and like happy that I was able to, you know, articulate the music and everything that I had practiced and, you know, in a calm way. And it was dope.
And what about taking a solo? Because I've seen you step out and do that quite a bit.
Yeah, the solos, at first I was just doing them from like where I stand on stage.
Yeah.
And then they were like, step out, step out. I remember the band, Lynette, Zuri, and these were like, you could do it, sis. They call me baby sis. They were like, you could do it, baby sis. Like, just get out there and then get on the ground and be like, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to do it. And then it came time for me to do it. And I stepped out and I was like, okay, just do it. Just do it. And then I stepped out. They turned the lights off. This red light kind of comes like where I stand on the stage.
Yeah.
And I start the solo. And in my head, I'm like, drop to your knees, drop to your knees, drop to your knees. And then I dropped to my knees and I was like, oh my God. It was so like, it was weird because like I'd never done that before. There's this one time I dropped to my knees for a solo and I got like a Charlie horse. A Charlie horse is a cramp in like, mostly in your legs, but like it could be anywhere, I think, in your body, but like it is like, the worst cramp ever.
Oh
and then it was like in my leg or something. And I was like, no, but I still had to like sell it to look like I was really just like, oh my God. But I was like, dang, my leg hurts.
Someone to trust, someone to hold, someone to know, someone to love.
So you spoke about your guitar side, but you're balancing also singing. You sang with Mariah Carey, Lady Gaga.
That was insane. Like getting the call from Mariah, I was in the studio with the band I'm in. We were called No Question, but we're rebranding as Employees of the Month, ETM. And so we're in the studio, we're making songs, and I get a call from the head of the choir, and she was like, hey, if you're not doing anything, like, would you be interested in being in the choir? And I was like, for Mariah Carey? Heck yeah, what in the world? There are like segments where you can go backstage. So you like come out, you do a couple songs, go backstage. You could drink some water. You could, I don't know, vlog. But when I'm playing guitar, that whole hour 30 set, I'm in the public eye. Like, you know, it's no like breaks. So I think it's a little bit more like you're in the zone and you have your in-ears in and it's like a movie. But when I'm like singing and I'm with the choir, I just feel like, I don't know, it feels less like scary, maybe. I don't know if scary is the right word, but maybe less pressure. Though I think those are the difference, like the intensity of it. It feels more relaxed when I'm singing, and then when I'm playing, I'm like, rock, rock, rock.
And what's she like to work with? Do you speak? Like, do you kind of, what happened? How is it?
She's really nice. She's really nice. And she's a mom, so she gave like that mom energy. We saw her pretty much in rehearsals, and I was helping her daughter row with guitar for a little bit during the tour. And her daughter is hilarious and so talented. She picked up a lot of the things that I helped her with really, really fast. But they're really good people. They're genuine. They're hilarious and really kind.
About a bit of your guitar technique, because your chord choices, aren't they, are really kind of gorgeous chord choices, and like, and you can't play quite intricate embellishments as well between that. I mean, I know I'm not describing it in the best way, but where's that come from? The way that you play and how well you play.
Thank you. I think it was just from like studying different musicians. And also different singers. And something that like a lot of people said to me, which I thought was really interesting. And they were like, first of all, they say I play like an old man, which I thought that was hilarious. And then they also say that I play like I'm singing. And I'm like, maybe that's because I do sing and I like harmonies and like, I've been singing since I was like really, really young. So maybe it's like combined, I have no clue, but with technique, I studied John Mayer and Mateus, and just the way that they do different chord shapes, and then like their different scales. I was like, what is that? And then when I finally learned how to do it, I was like, okay, let me try to incorporate this in like my everyday playing. To where I could like play a song and find that scale in that key and then like manipulate different things within that, key, and use those different scales in it. I would say John Mayer and Mateus were definitely for soloing. For Tori Kelly, it was like more of the chords, like acoustic stuff for my songwriting. And I actually started with acoustic. So the transition with acoustic to electric was different. I feel like electric is a little bit more easy to like bend notes and, you don't have to press down as hard. And like the whammy bar. Whammy bar is my like best friend when it comes to playing. I keep it in my pinky. And when I play, I kind of like shake the chords a little bit to make some vibrato with it. But I also use the whammy as like extra push to it a little bit, which I know some people, they play and then they pick it up and and then they drop it. But I like to like keep it for like everything that I do, so I always have access to it. Even from our like rock stuff or like the distortion and different overdrive stuff, I'll still use the whammy. So I think that's my technique: whammy, different chords that I've learned from a lot of different people. Even like Jubu recently, about him, I was like, I didn't even know people play like this. Insane. I love him.
You spoke about producing in school and that became part of your creative toolkit. Did it change the way that you hear guitar when you started producing?
I started laying down guitar like how I did my vocals. And that's why I would answer this question with yes, because before it was just like power chords and like anything I would learn from any guitarist I was studying at the time. But laying guitar down like I was singing and kind of splitting them up into individual parts, like an a cappella group, for an example. I was like, man, I love this. Like, and it's still something I do now when I make loops. People will hear it soon when I drop the music, but I have a lot of different loops where it's just melodies, but it's like one note at a time instead of like a bunch of chords. And it turns into this whole thing that sounds different than just playing like an A chord or an E, like, those type of things.
Yeah. What's the kind of gear that you're using? Because I know you're into all that as well, the pedals, effects. What's your kind of go-to or your setup?
So I was using like an analog setup before, but when I got to Lizzo, I went digital. And they were like,
okay,
we're going to get you the Kemper. So I still use a Kemper to this day. I just was talking to my friend Jay, who was one of my mentors, yesterday about the Kemper. I also say like Dunlop, the volume pedal. I use that for expression. And then for guitars, I have PRS, Fender, Taylor, like acoustics. That's like my main setup right now. When I go out and do like one-offs and stuff, that's my setup.
Do you approach playing differently when you're producing to when you're performing live, for example? Is there a different way that you play?
Yeah, because like when you're playing live, it is about that like communication with the rest of the band and the musicians and giving space. And then sometimes it is your time to like step out a little bit and then you do that and then you come back and then you're doing something to help the piano player when they're doing something, you chord under that or like, but when you're producing, it's like your world completely and you get to like write everything out the way that you want to write it. So I can have chords over here and I'll pan it over there and then I have like some weird riff pan to the right and then like in the middle I have a solo or anything, some weird stuff, but it's definitely different because when I'm producing, it gives me more freedom to like do whatever is in my brain or whatever comes up. But then when I'm playing live, it is truly like a group effort, playing with, everyone and giving space.
And if it's those who want to play or perform professionally, what should they start building now, or preparing now?
It's good. Stage presence, I would say. Because for some people, like anxiety, they get like stage anxiety. So I would say just like practice playing in front of people. If you don't have a stage now, practice with your friends or your family. And then venture out, do different things. Like for me, it was church, having that experience playing in front of people. And then just, start to get comfortable with like people's eyes being on you while you're playing. Definitely like facial expressions. Cause I used to play with this straight face and everybody was like imitating me, like, this is how Jordan played. And it just like, I was like, okay, whatever. But I had to learn to like feel the music. But smile. If you feel like, on stage, different things, just get comfortable with being in the public eye, like people looking at you while you're playing.
So what's next for you creatively? Because you've spoken that you want to do your own music or that you're releasing an EP. Can you tell us a bit more about that and the band that you're in as well?
Yeah, of course. Like I've been saying since like high school that I wanted to release music, but you can get in your head about it and be like, oh, it's not good enough. So I think that's kind of where I've been. But the past year, me and my band have been like working on our own stuff, and then we'll come together and work on stuff together. Again, we're going to be called Employees of the Month, which is super cool. Me, I'm the only girl. My friends, Jordan Lunsford and then Jahal Smith. And then my cousin Isaac, who obviously we're cousins, we grew up together. He's helping me with producing, bass. Like that's my brother. And it's just the four of us, and we're just also all producers, and they're amazing. I love them, and I'm always inspired by them. We actually went to the studio last night, and they just played some of their new stuff, and I just shake my head like, y'all are insane. Like, and I'm so excited for everyone to hear what we've been working on individually, and then like as a group, as a collective as well. Because it is like a different sound and something I think that's really different, especially coming out of Maryland. So, yeah.
Okay, so can you give us a hint? Is it R&B? Is it a bit more alternative? Is it rock?
I would say R&B. It's like different parts of the album because we are all different individuals. It is a lot of R&B on there.
So what's the goal then, Jordan? I know you've mentioned Employees of the Month. You've mentioned your own music. Is the goal to be signed? Is the goal to stay independent?
At first, I was like, I want to be the biggest superstar and I want to do all this stuff and be like my inspirations. But at the time, I was like, looking back, I was like, I would not have been ready for that. I was too young and like, I just wasn't ready. But now I'm like kind of in a place where I want to have my hands in a lot of things. And, I want to start like fashion things.
As well as jumpers as well, I see, as well on tour.
Yeah. That was crazy. I really do like fashion and like, cutting different pieces up, cropping different things. And that would be so cool one day if I like had a line of something or like a collab with a company. And then also when it comes to like the music, I have been studying a lot and I feel like one day maybe I could be an MD, which is basically a music director for don't know the term, but I think that would be pretty cool. Also releasing music for myself, like I am in ETM, but eventually after we'll all be releasing our own individual music as well. So just doing that, maybe doing a couple shows. I have a lot of different goals, but I'm just trying to like build toward it and be prepared.
for the Pantheon.